Another designer mystery block in the books. This is month 5, month 5, and it's called Windward. Hello everyone, this is Carrie with Canary Quilts, and we are working on our designer mystery month, block of the month from Fat Quarter Shop. I don't believe this is available at the moment, but it will be when we're done next year. You'll be able to buy the entire thing. Or you can join next year's designer mystery block of the month. But anyway, we are on month 5, and this is a pattern by Vanessa Goertzen, and it's called Windward. And she knocked it out of the park on this one. I love this block. I'm staring at it in the camera right now. Just the colors, the pattern, it's gorgeous. I love the pinwheel in the middle paired with these hourglass blocks, and this was just a joy to put together. I had so much fun. I'm going to show you how I organized it and how I kind of like did some things together instead of at separate times during the pattern, and just walk you through it. So if you're having fun with me on this channel, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. You get notified every time I do this. And I have tons of other stuff I'm doing right now. I've got 2 other sew-alongs, Tulip Pinks actually right now. I did this Christmas one behind me, which is a free pattern. And I'm doing state blacks, which you can see back here. Yeah, and you can hit the links below of the products I use in here, and that does help the channel out. And I would really appreciate it. So let's get started working on this block. Okay, we are on block 5 of the designer mystery block of the month, and it's called Windward. And it's the guest designer is Vanessa Goertzen. And this looks like a fun block. It's a 4-color block. The colors are gorgeous. It's the Nantucket collection. I believe it's called the Nantucket collection, but I'll put it in right here below, the exact name of it. Plus I have links to it down below. Because these fabrics are just absolutely gorgeous. This looks like a fun block to do. We've got some half square triangles, we've got hourglass, we've got a pinwheel, so it's going to be just a little fun mishmash of a bunch of different blocks to put together. But anyway, these are the 4 colors. This is for our center pinwheel, and then this is on the outside here on these big squares, and then this is part of the hourglass. And our background, of course. So I've had a few people tell me that they're using the backgrounds from their previous block of the months just to kind of save what they've got and utilize it. I'm going to use what I get in here just to see how much is left for you to see that also. So let's get our fabrics cut and come back and start putting this together. Okay, we've got our cuts for the month 5 Windward block, and this is how they have you do it. They give you letters, and then they tell you that the background is A, B, C, D and E is this fabric, F is this, G and H are this. So that's how I cut it. We've got 2 of the large block for A, 4 B's, 4 C's, and C is just slightly smaller than B. And then the D and G in the green and blue are the same size as A. And then also E and H are the same size as B here. So those are our cuts, and then F is just slightly smaller than these 2. So that's how it's cut. I'm going to leave my letters on because they reference them in the pattern when we start putting it together. And I just wanted to show you, there's quite a bit of fabric left. So yeah, they really do a nice job of making sure you have enough fabrics. So there you go. That's what it looks like. So there's our cuts. Let's start putting this beauty together. To get started, it tells us to make some half square triangles out of B and E, but a little later in the pattern it tells us to make half square triangles out of B and H. So I'm going to do both of these at the same time. Make it just a little bit easier, get it all done. And you need to take your B's and put diagonals on the back of them. So I've done that to all of these, and then we're going to take all our E and H squares and pair them up with a B, right sides together, and we'll clip them. Now that we have all these clipped together, I'm going to go over to my machine and I'm going to sew a seam that's 1/4 of an inch away from this center line on both sides. So I use my 1/4 inch foot and I use the 1/4 inch to run right down this line. That way I get a 1/4 inch seam, and I do it on both sides. And then we'll come back, we'll get them cut apart, and we're going to iron towards the dark fabric. So at this point we want to cut on that diagonal line we drew so that we end up with 2 blocks. So there we go, we're done with E, B, and H fabrics. Now we want to iron these towards the dark fabric. We get our half square triangle. So the pattern calls for 4 of each, and that's what we've got here. And now we want to trim them to size. And I use this diagonal and line it up, the diagonal on my ruler, line it up with the seam, and then line up my measurements down here, and then trim it up. Turn it over, do the same thing on the other side. We end up with our half square triangle block. Okay, here's our half square triangles done. We'll be using these in one of the next steps. These will come a little bit later as we're putting it together. But now we need to take our F and our C, and instead of drawing, we are going to cut these on the diagonal. So we'll end up with 8 from our C fabric. There's 8 from our C fabric, and we'll end up with 4 from our F fabric. And I need a bigger ruler. There we go. We're going to lay our half square triangle just like that, and then C, right sides together, are going to go like this. Let's see, what's the right side? There we go. Is that the, yep. It's so hard to tell on this fabric. Anyway, what we want to do is we want to line this edge up right here when we're putting these two together. So flip them over and line up these edges, and we're going to sew along that green edge. So since we know what we're doing, we'll put it together like that. Line up our corner, our edges right here, and then sew along that green edge. So sew the side that you pinned, and then we're going to come back and we are ironing towards this triangle right here. So we want to add this side, this triangle to this side, sew along the green edge. Make sure this is lined up right here. I'm going to trim these tails off. So we want to finish these are our 4 outside corners that we're going to be finishing up. So we want to add F, our half of F over here, just like this, right along that long edge. And then we're going to sew this up and iron it towards the green F piece. Pin the side you're going to sew. There you go. Come back and iron this towards the green. Okay, to finish our corner out, we're going to iron towards that green. There you go. We got 4 of our corners. Just got to trim those tails off and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside. I'll get those trimmed in a minute. The corners, the tails I should say. We're done with the C and the F. So now all we have left is our G, our D, and our A. So we are going to be cutting these up exactly the same way, and that's going to be on the diagonal. So I'll start over here with the blue, and we're going to cut both diagonals on this. So we end up with 4 triangles. Same thing with the green. 4 triangles, and what we're doing is we're working towards getting our hourglass blocks made. And then we're going to cut both of these on both diagonals, and we'll end up with 8 background blocks. There we go. So we're done with all our alphabetties. We've got all our blocks ready to be assembled. And we just need to finish making the hourglass blocks. And to do that, we need to make 4 blocks that look like this. And make sure you have right sides up, and I'm just going to layer them since I have 4. I'm making sure that my background is right side up. So we are going to sew these together and these together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it just like this, and I'll show you. We're going to put the sides together right along there. Make sure your edges line up and pin it. Pin the side you're going to sew. So we're going to sew 1/4 inch down this way, and we're going to iron these open. So all of these seams on this block are going to be ironed open. I'm going to leave it like this because I'm just going to grab from these piles and put them together and chain piece them. Okay, they are having us iron these open. So let's do that. That's what we get. And there's our hourglass block. Just need to put it together at those seams. Okay, I have my 4 halves piled up here on each side. Now we just need to take the 2 halves and we are going to put them together. And usually you have nested seams here, but they're having us do it open, so you've got to be very careful to make sure your seams are lined up there in the center. And then we'll line our edges up. And we're going to sew along this pinned edge, and we are ironing this open also. So let's get these 4 blocks made and come back and iron them open. Okay, we've got our 2 halves put together. We're going to come back here and, yep, that point looks great. It's a little harder when they're not nested, but it certainly can be done. We'll iron this one open too, and there's our beautiful hourglass block. And we'll just have to come back and trim these tails off. Okay, there's my beautiful pinwheel blocks, not pinwheel, hourglass blocks. And I'm going to set them over here with my corners, and we will get all the tails trimmed at one time. So the last thing we want to do is take our blue half square triangle blocks we did, and this is how we are going to make our center pinwheel. So, pinwheel. Let's make a pinwheel. So there we go. There's our pinwheel block. We are going to put this row together and this row together, and we will always iron towards the blue, so that then when we put these 2 rows together, these seams will be opposite and we can nest them. So line your edges up, and I like to make sure my seams kind of nest right over here in the corner. We will sew these together and come back and iron towards the blue. Okay, we've got them sewn together. We're going to iron towards that blue edge on both of these. So now when we put them together, these seams will be nested. So let's nest those seams. Sew this center piece together, and we're just going to pick a side to iron towards. There we go. And just be mindful, because you got a lot of fabric coming together there in the middle. And there's our center pinwheel. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. Wow, I love those colors. I love that contrast. That's what makes a pinwheel so beautiful, is that contrast. Okay, so we are ready to put this together, but first I am gonna trim all these tails. Alright, I got my tails trimmed. Also, you need to trim your hourglasses down to size. They're a little bit bigger than what they need to be, so trim them to the size indicated in the pattern. And you're ready to go. So we need to start putting this together. We're going to make 3 rows. 2 rows are going to look like this. And I've already got my piles here. Each one has 2 in it. Then this row, we're just going to have one of them. This center row is going to look like this. So we will always be ironing towards the hourglass. So just remember that when you bring your strip back, always iron towards the hourglass. So no seams to line up. We can do all of these at once. I'm going to pin the side I want to sew. So we'll have 3 blocks we're sewing. Pin the side you're gonna sew. Bring it back, sew it first, bring it back, iron towards the hourglass. Okay. Easy thing to remember is always iron towards the hourglass. So let's put these back up here, and this goes down here. Now we just need to add these onto our rows and we'll be ready to start putting their block together. Okay, we are getting there. There's the top, there's the middle, and the bottom. So now we just put our rows together, nesting these seams we just made. So I'm going to do that first. And line up our corners and edges. We are going to sew. And we're always going to iron towards the top and bottom row, or away from the middle row. However you like to remember it. So let's get this sewn. We'll come back and iron it, and we'll repeat for the bottom. There we go. We are going to iron towards the outside rows away from the center. And we are going to repeat for that bottom row. There we go. Block 5, called Windward, is done. And it wasn't too hard to do. We got some beautiful hourglasses. We've got half square triangles there. And yeah, it just turned out to make a pinwheel. I mean, just the colors. The way she used the colors in this is gorgeous too. I love that contrast. It's really, really pretty. But yeah, I hope I showed you some good tips and gave you some confidence to get this done. And you know, I'd appreciate it if you check out the links below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. You'll get notified as we do all these blocks and when we finish it up next year. And yeah, I had a lot of fun making this video, and I had a lot of fun making this block. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!